Hello, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Ryan Selvy. This is File New, your number one stop for creator news, designer news, photographer news, illustrator news, all the news that you need to be a up-to-date creator in today's landscape. Today, we have a lot of stuff that we're going to be rolling through. We've got some updates to Instagram, Blue Sky. They have a new Coca-Cola commercial that we're going to talk about, video podcasts, tons of brands that all got rebranded. We have some font of the week among some other really great resources. So if you're joining here for the first time, hi, great to see you, either in the live chat or in the replay. I promise to make it worth your while no matter what. But this is File New. It is a design show and a creator show with all the up-to-date news, both Adobe and non-Adobe, and we're just really glad to have you here. So let's go ahead and hop right on into our first section, which is always just news updates. Welcome back to everyone after a week off. Last week we had Adobe Max, as you know, which was a bunch of really exciting and cool updates. I was out in Los Angeles helping out with production for a bunch of the streams on the floor of the convention, but also was able to catch a lot of the cool things like sneaks and other updates. We will be talking about a handful of them, but I also know that you guys probably have heard tons about Max, so don't worry, it isn't just a fully Max show. We have a bunch planned for you. You can see that today for today's schedule. We are on the second show right now. You are here. Let's see, I can even like do a little circle or a star if you want. Ooh, why is my brush so big? You are right here. But next up, we have Design Sprint and Edit Like a Pro over on Twitch, which are both great shows that I definitely encourage you to check out. But you're with me for the next hour, so I'm going to make it worth your while. Tomorrow we have a full loaded day in studio, all with YouTube streams, with co-creating with Firefly boards, bringing a digital ofrenda to life. We have Turn Your DIY ideas into reality with Firefly boards and Back to Max print-ready stickers, along with some really fun EDU content, education content at the end of the day. So you can get this schedule always on the Discord, which is linked in the chat and also linked in the description for this show. I'm going to go ahead and also right now post this week's links, which is the raindrop. You can navigate to previous week's links as well in here. And yeah, Keith says, make Ryan use smoothing on that brush. I know it's tough, but you know what? It's just a little highlight. So hello to Keys and Wade, Oliver. Thank you guys for being here, along with Miss Melanie, Steve, Penny, Alyssa, and everybody else. If I missed you, I'm sorry. Just make sure you chat more so I see you more. Wade made it clickable, so thank you very much. But let's go ahead and hop into the news. We're going to start off with an obvious Adobe one, and this is 11 new ways to accelerate your creative process with Creative Cloud. This is from Deepa Subramaniam, and she posted this right after like around kind of the lead up to Max, which was, like I said, a really good time. It was right before Halloween, and there are some really cool tools that she did a really great job at highlighting. I'm going to go ahead and pull up my browser window here. We're going to get to that one in just a bit. This is the wrong one. But if you go to the raindrop and you go to today's date, you'll be able to navigate down to the Adobe Express blog. And this is a really great blog that gives a bunch of different updates. One of the ones that they talked a lot about was Firefly boards, which is a new brainstorming kind of creation process, being able to bring in different pictures and merge them and organize them. I have not yet put them in my workflow, but I'm excited to kind of mess around with being able to maybe even do a file new from here, because you can do a lot of the edits straight in with all of this inspiration and kind of building out and organizing images, remixing things, taking styles from other styles, and then implementing them into your pieces. Talked a lot about other models being used. There is Gen Upscale, which I think is really good. A lot of times people are using Topaz, and you can now do that directly in Photoshop. So now you can make something way bigger, which is nice, and not have to worry about horrible grain or weird stuff. They officialized harmonize, which we've used on the stream before, which is when you take an object and you put it in another spot and then you harmonize it to make it all work together with the lighting and the color and the ambiance and the perspective. And that's actually in the official build of Photoshop now. There were some Lightroom updates, and among other things, you can hop through all of here, like generating soundtracks to music in a public I almost said butterfly, and a public beta for Adobe Firefly. And then there were some really great things that help you navigate not having to rotoscope to the end of your life by selecting different things in images and making it really easy to cut around objects in videos. So lots of really cool stuff. We'll also be going over in just a minute a bunch of the Max content. But I'm curious for anyone in chat who is up to date with all the latest news from Max. Do you guys have a favorite announcement or presentation that really stuck out to you? Let me know as I hop into the Max Sneaks. Max Sneaks, if you're unfamiliar, is my favorite time of Max every single year. So they always have the opening keynote on the opening day, and then about 2 days later, right before they have this big party called Max Bash, they have Max Sneaks, and they normally bring out a celebrity or another commentator, and they get to sit on stage with an Adobe evangelist. This time it was Paul Trani, which, like, dude, that guy, he presented like every single day, and then now he's flying out over into Japan, which is crazy. And so he was just on, and he did such a great job. He had a really great time on stage with Jessica, who I am a big fan of. You might know her from The Daily Show. And I don't know how much I can show of her with like her release or whatever. And I don't want to do wrong by her because, like I said, I am a fan of Jessica Williams. But you can see on the Adobe blog that they have a breakdown of all the different things that came of it. One thing that really stood out to me was this new selecting tool, which is on here somewhere. It is the... not surface swap. Oh, maybe it's not on this one. Turnstile. Trace erase. Here it is. Yep. All right. I'm going to mute it just so we don't do anything. But it's really interesting. What you can do is you go and you kind of can just select the car here rather than it being a situation where you like have to go and also do the puddle and the area of the shadow around here. It's going to understand what's going on, and it's going to directly switch out the puddle for you. It's going to switch out the shadows, and it just does a better job at being able to understand light, being able to understand how things are changing. You can see in this example, there's a woman walking, and there's also the reflection here amongst also the shadow. They don't even have to go through and erase the full subject. You can see they just put a line down. They miss her arms, but it still figures out what's going on. Same here with kind of these objects on the deck. It knows how to get rid of them. It even updates lighting on the wall, which is really nice. So they get rid of the lamp, and it understands that the lamp should not only be gone from the reflection, but the lamp's light source should also be removed from the walls as well, which is really cool. Definitely something that I think will be extremely useful for editing photos. And it was among a bunch of other stuff. They also had a really cool lighting update where you can like put the lighting. Let's see if I just do here, light. Project, not light touch. Here we go. It is light touch, I think. And this is really cool because you move the light around an image, and this is a flat image, but he even goes as far later to then bring it around and kind of throw it through the nose. And when he throws it through the nose, it lights up the center of the jack-o'-lantern, which was really cool. But yeah, there was a lot of really cool stuff. Keys is saying I'm most excited about the Gaussian splat editor from Sneaks. We also have Steve saying, wow. Oliver's also saying Trace Erase was really good. Plenty of stuff for you to check out and kind of really get invested in. As I might have not said, this is all normally the real experimental stuff. It's not out to the public, but it's just things that the developers get to come on stage and interact with the audience and say, this is what we're working on. Cheer if you're really excited about it. And then they kind of go off of that. Previous ones from previous sneaks include like Project Turntable, Project Neo, also Harmonize. Those are all ones that were originally announced during Sneaks and then became parts of the full product that then get later announced and later implemented into things. Oliver says the video ones were also cool, editing a whole video just by changing the first frame and also breaking up the audio into different tracks. Yes, there is a new stemming tool that they hinted at and showed. Like I said, they didn't announce it. I believe it is Project Clean Take. Is that the right one? Where it takes the audio that you have and automatically stems it into a bunch of different stuff. So in this case, he is here and there's like noise in the background, like a train, and it is able to identify the train itself. It's able to identify his voice. It's able to identify the wind. And then you can then go and edit each one individually. Here, there's like barbells dropping, and they want to get rid of that, so they kind of mute different parts of it, but they can keep parts of the other track so that then it's not muting everything. It's just muting the one really loud one. And I think that's going to be really helpful. They also even had a thing where you can go and change the inflection of somebody's voice if they go and they finish on an up note. So, when you're recording a video and all of a sudden it goes up, then you can change it so that it goes down, so that maybe it's the better of the end of a clip. It works in their voice. It helps kind of also change the energy if you want it. Lots of fun stuff. And as you guys know, audio is the bane of my existence. I always really struggle with it. So any updates and changes to audio to make my life easier, I fully welcome. And it's great to see those things hopefully coming down the line. Speaking of some things that didn't land as nicely, though, Coca-Cola came out with a new AI holiday ad, and it's getting criticized as a sloppy eyesore. This one's coming from Jess Weatherbed from The Verge. Last year, Coca-Cola came out with a fully AI video. It had a lot of issues with a lot of the framing and how things were generated and sloppy and moved together. But they doubled down and they worked on it again this year to make another one that is fully AI generated. And as you might expect, people are still not too happy about it, but they are doubling down. And it says past blunders are seemingly worth the risk for Coca-Cola, with the company's chief marketing officer, Manolo Arroyo, telling the Wall Street Journal that its latest holiday campaign was cheaper and speedier to produce compared to traditional production. Before, when we were doing shooting and all the standard process for a project, we would start a year in advance. But he told the publication, now you can do it in around a month. They do say that 100 people were involved in the project, which is comparable to the company's older AI-free productions. But I'm not going to show it on stream because I feel like that's copyrighted, but I definitely recommend you guys go and check it out. What I will do actually here is I will share this link here, and I will put it into the file new part of the Adobe Live Discord so that you guys can go out and you guys can check it, and you guys can tell me your thoughts. Either in chat now or in the Discord. It'd be great to have you. We have all of our different channels here on the Adobe Live Discord server, and join, and you can talk and get news and updates when we're not live, which is very fun. Let's see here. Also, hello to some new chatters in the chat that are just joining us now. Hello to Virgil1. Good to see you here. And Mel is also saying, you made a good impression. I learned so much in the last video. I thought I'd stick around for this one. I'm so happy. We're here live every single week at this time on Wednesdays. We weren't live last week because of Adobe Max, but we're live every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Western. And we like to give you all your updates. If you guys have any comments or news stories that you want to talk about, make sure you let me know, either by putting them in the Discord chat or something. And yeah, I love to know your thoughts. We love to have open conversations. For example, Immercorn saying it gets a little scary though. People can take advantage of this new tech. I hope they implemented something that shows it's been edited. Reverb Mike wants to know if they used Adobe. They did not mention it. For the most part, I feel like a lot of the generated stuff is using like Runway in this scenario, because I feel like if it was Adobe, you'd be able to kind of track down where it came from, because we do have content credentials. But interesting to see, and they have not, I don't think they've necessarily disclosed which models or anything they used. Oh wait, no, here we go. It says featuring cast of various critters, no consistent style, switching between attempted realism. And yeah, I actually don't know if they do, but it's a developing story that was posted 2 days ago. So we'll be interested to see how it lands and what people say about it. But keeping the attention on video, this is an update from Sarah Perez for TechCrunch, and it says Spotify now has 500,000 video podcasts, which nearly 400 million users have watched. So if you're somebody who is creating videos, editing videos, creating podcasts, editing podcasts, definitely don't sleep on the idea of videos, because videos add an extra level to the humanity behind a podcast. That figure is apparently up 54% year over year, and it also reflects Spotify's increased investment in the format. It says that users spent time with video content on Spotify has more than doubled year over year, largely driven by video podcasts. And they also say video podcast consumption has increased more than 80% since the launch of the Spotify Partner Program. They also recently partnered with Netflix to distribute its video podcast to a broader audience, and that starts sometime next year. But I tend to watch a lot of my video podcasts on YouTube. Some of them are on Spotify as well, but it's interesting to see. Brian is saying Wednesday, it's Thursday here. Brian must be on the other side of the world. We're coming live to you from Brooklyn. So whatever time it is for Thursday for you, it is Wednesday here. You did have me question myself for a second, though, because I never know what day it is anymore. But Oliver says that he's never watched a video podcast on Spotify. He only watches them on YouTube, as does Umacorn. And Alyssa also says, everyone make sure to like this video, please and thanks. Yes, a very good point. This is on YouTube, and if you give it a like, it is very helpful for the algorithm to then serve it to other people. So would love to get those thumbs up. Make sure you follow. And yeah, like I said, we're here every Wednesday, unless you're with Brian. If you're with Brian, we're here every Thursday. Coming to also videos and photos, restyle your Instagram stories using Meta AI to take your creativity further. This is coming directly from the Meta blog. This was actually announced on October 23rd, but since we have not had a ability to stream since then, I was unable to report on it. But it's interesting. It's a new way that Instagram is announcing being able to edit it directly in app, to be able to modify and change things directly within the app. And they posted a cool video about it. It's just showing you how you're able to continue to edit things. Like in this case, they're restyling it. It says, make me wear a dinosaur onesie and getting beamed up by a UFO. You can remove items, add flare, preset effects. And it's teaching you how to use it. It's something that they're rolling out to all users, and it's free right within Instagram's app. So just also understand, as things are being generated and you're consuming content online, that not everything is exactly real. Then our last social media update for today is coming from Blue Sky, which is a text-based social media platform that is similar to X or Mastodon, among all the other ones. They recently posted on Halloween that they were building healthier social media. They said they're developing a system that maps the social neighborhoods that naturally form on Blue Sky. And this is all like different communities. And the people you already interact with or would likely enjoy knowing, and prioritizing replies from people closer to your quote-unquote neighborhood. We can make conversations feel more relevant, familiar, and less prone to misunderstandings. It also says that they're starting a dislike option as a new feedback symbol to improve personalization in Discover and other feeds. It helps to then rank it on your system for your algorithm. And they are private, and the signal isn't global. So it's not like you are, doing a nasty gesture to somebody else. You're just kind of telling the algorithm, to your experience, what you like and what you don't. They have improved toxicity detection. They have reply context, and they also have a reply settings refresh. So it's interesting to see them continue to update and experiment, all on 8C protocol, which is an open source protocol that helps that other people use things connected. Keys is saying in last story that he never uses Spotify. Music is Keys has never used Spotify. Reverb Mike says music only for me on Spotify. Oliver is not wild about Meta AI. Let's see what else. Also, it is Thursday as well for Steve over in New Zealand. Of course, that makes sense. So good morning to you. Thanks for being here, early risers. And then this last one, I wasn't sure if I was going to include this in Rebrand or if I was going to include this in news, but it's coming from 9to5Mac. Chance Miller. It says, Apple launches rich new web interface for the App Store. For the longest time, whenever you linked out to a App Store listing, you ran into an issue that it was like a really clunky experience on any sort of desktop browser that you're going to be messed with. They finally have made it so that it's very easy to navigate, not only within iPhone and iPad, but also being able to navigate like Mac, Vision Pro, Watch, TV. And it's finally something where you can go and you can actually kind of go through the new web interface. You can see, you can click in and out of stuff. Coco Melon now comes to Headspace. Who knew? Who knew that's what we needed? who knew that's what we wanted? But now you can actually go and navigate. You can still see like ratings and stuff. And you can also see all the things that were a lot harder to navigate way early on. Also, if you guys don't meditate, meditating's great. Do you guys meditate? I was going to start a poll to see if people meditated or not, but we're actually about to hop into our next section, which always has Font of the Week. And Font of the Week has a great poll where you guys get to vote on which font is the font of the week. So let's do that. So Font of the Week is when we look at the different fonts available on Adobe Fonts. That is available in your subscription. And it is a time where we like to pick out 3 different typefaces, and then we look at what they're about. We look at how you might use them, how you might categorize them, and then we also have you guys vote on which one you think is the best one for the crown of the week, which is up here. A little crown that we made. Has a little T on it, a little typeface with the little cursors left and right. And then once that wins, it then actually goes over to our Font of the Week Hall of Fame. And you can see these are all the different typefaces from about the last 16 shows of all the ones that have won in this rundown between 3 head-to-head typefaces that you guys then vote on. We're going to start off today with the typeface Lapture from Just Another Foundry. You can see that we have 1 serif font and 2 sans serif fonts, but I tried to make the third one that we have today a little bit of a wonkier humanist style one, so hopefully it does apply to 3 different ones. I'm going to go ahead. Welcome to Cody. Thank you for being here. We're going to start a poll over here. I'm going to say Font of the Week. And we like to keep it open for a little bit, so you don't have to vote right away. It will stay open for the majority of the stream because I like to give everyone a chance to be able to vote on it. But I'm going to go ahead and put that poll up, and then we're going to break down which each one is. So without further ado, the first one that we have, like I said, is Lapture, Just Another Foundry. It is a serif typeface rooted in a humanist serif, which means that it kind of feels more like it was made by a human. It's not just all like binary, like hard edges and strong. Like you can feel kind of the change in letter form, especially when it goes from like thick to thin or something. But it also has influence from black letter, which is exactly what it sounds like. Black letter is kind of like when you think of monks, maybe like writing out like the Bible or something, and they have those really crazy ornate ones. That's when you kind of run into black letter. It is based on Caper's 1971 Leipziger Antiqua from East Germany Foundry typo art, and the design uses Roman letter forms with subtle black letter fracture cues, and it also features multiple optical sizes like caption, normal text, subhead, and display for varied usage. It includes about 24 styles if you include upright and italic across different sizes. And it was originally released in 2004, but updated with extra heavyweights, condensed styles, and acrylic in 2025, which is this year. It's probably best for using in text settings or editorial work. You can use this in large quantities, also really tiny if you want a serif with personality and historical roots. But, it's also magazine subheads or display usage thanks to the multiple optic sizes. We always go in, we write out file new, and we look at how that looks. Miss Melanie's already saying Lapture is her favorite, and we already see that the votings are starting to come in. But you guys have time to vote on it. Do not fret. And we're going to take a look a little bit at the glyphs as well. You can always figure out the glyphs of a typeface either by going in and highlighting something, and it has this little checkered box. You can right click and you can say show alternates for selection. It'll give you these, but then you can also update this entire area. And it says either alternates for selection, or you could say entire font. You can then scroll down and see all the different things that the font has to offer. This one seems to have a lot because it has a lot of different nice accents for multiple languages. And if Jacob Paris was here, he would know that I was about to say, can you do your math homework with it? And I'm not seeing any division symbols. Oh, I am. You can do your math homework with it. And then normally down at the bottom is when they have really goofy glyphs. But for this one, it looks like it just has some accessibility. We love a good arrow, which I always like to put in between the two because at the end of the day, that's where the inspiration is coming from. File new. And I don't know. I think it's strong. We could take a quick look at some of the other typefaces here, or weights, I mean, or like extra bold, italic. And it's cool that they flip up the letter forms when you're doing italics, so it's not just everything angled. You can see that there's a notable change in things like the I and the L when you're switching between just regular and italic. It's also getting rid of some of the serif on the left to then flip around. Steve is saying, what is the reason that L IGA Lapture is taller? Looks like a mistake. All right, so let's see. L I. Oh, is it? Are the L and the I different? They're all together. I'm not sure. The L is weird. They say +1. Why do you guys think the L is so weird? The L looks pretty normal to me. I don't see weirdness in this L. I prefer the bold version of capture for sure, or lapture for sure, says Alyssa. So we're gonna say file new, and the lowercase L. Oh, the lowercase L being higher. So what about like an F? Yeah, no, it looks like it's higher. I think it's just an optical thing maybe, because also the uppercase F is lower than the lowercase F. Maybe it's just something to do with some visual surprise of the week. Oliver says, I think Ryan left it off deliberately, so I couldn't make up my mind before the stream. Oh, what? Because I didn't incorporate them into the like, oh, did I not put it in the raindrop? Everything should be in the raindrop, unless I accidentally did not include it in the raindrop, but it should be there. Oh, I did. All right, I will move it over. I'll make sure that I do it in a second. I'll make sure I update it. The raindrop's a little messy today. Sorry about that. Yes, looks like an oops, says Steve. All right, we'll let that maybe, speak to whether or not that's the one you vote for. Then we're going to move over to Halyard. Halyard is designed by Joshua Darden, Ebik Sorkin, and Lucas Sharp from Darden Studio. And it is a sans serif, grotesque, neo-grotesque, with multiple optical sizes for display, text, and micro usage. Very easy to read at all sizes, very easily to scale. It is built to extend the typographic utility of the grotesque sans category. It has strong personality while remaining versatile across sizes. So we're going to say file new. Oh, it's so curvy and circular. I love it. And it is probably best for anything that you want with UI or UX, web typography, branding, headlines, and you can always kind of move it up and down. It could even be body copy if you want it to be. It comes in lots of different weights for you. You have extra light all the way up to black. And then, of course, it also has the italics as well. And I know Steven will be happy because guess what? Everything is the same height over here for the L's and the F's and everything in between. Stephen Overturf, who is up next after us over on Twitch, is saying Darden gave away the coolest sponges based on their type at max. Oh, wait, what? They gave away sponges? Like sponges for your dishes? Huh. We have Halyard, which also has some really great glyphs. It has hearts and stars. It also has your math homework. It has cool arrows. It even has like a loading sign, among other things. So we're going to definitely use that arrow, and I'm going to move it around so that it actually makes sense. And yeah, Halyard is Arial italic, says Steve. Wow, Steve coming in with hot takes today. Reverb is Mike is saying stay slanty San Diego. And Reverb Mike is going to fly us all out to San Diego for the next font of the week. And then last but not least, we have FF Nouveau, and this is, I need to work on my pronunciation of everything because I just kind of throw it to the wind, and I'm waiting for an angry email one of these days. But designed by Siegfried Ruckel, and this is coming from Font. It is a sans serif, but it is designed with advertising and branding usage in mind. It stems from a designer's aim to craft a rounded typeface without using the common methods and to capture magazine and editorial flair. The forms are clean, robust, and adapt well to heavier weights and display contexts. It contains a bunch of different weights, and we can see that all within the app, from just regular all the way up to black. I'm just going to go to regular so we can check that out. I'm going to write out file new. I like how curvy the L is. I know they were saying they like the idea of curvies, but on traditional, which is nice. And it's pretty much good for anywhere you want a sans serif, which is normally really easy to switch up and down. It could be advertising, packaging, it could be logo work, amongst other things. Also, hello to Kendall. Welcome into the chat. Glad you can make it live. We're a big fan of Kendall here, Zonafly. Thank you for being here. And we're just going over our fonts of the week. This week we have Labature, Halyard, and Nuvo. Last but not least, we're going to check out the glyphs for Nuvo. And let's see what it has. It doesn't have any crazy glyphs. Does it even have math homework? I don't think it has math homework. So, oh, we know it does. See, that's why I have to really, they're not always in the same spot. You really have to scroll up and down and always figure it out. And it looks like it has nice, cohesive, concise letter forms. It even has copyright for you if you want it. So those are the three that we have. Before we move out from our wonderful section of Font of the Week, it is where I like to highlight different fonts if we do have any like type-related content. And I reached out to Martina Floor because she did this really cool update, and it was with the Adobe Max logo. So I was like, oh, that's even better to even mention on stream. And it's 2 typographic lessons hidden in the Adobe Max logo that every designer should know. This is also linked in the raindrop, and I'm going to pull it up. I have to make sure that my system audio is being shared, and I'll probably have to refresh this in just a second. You can find me on Instagram as Ryan Selvy, but we're going to go and we're going to make sure that I get this audio output capture going for us. And we're going to do a refresh, and we are going to
graphic lessons hidden in the Adobe Max logo that every designer should know. Lesson 1. The more diagonal a stroke is, the wider it needs to be to look optically equal to the others. If all strokes had the same thickness, the diagonals, like the ones in the A and X, will look thinner. That's why letter designers make them slightly wider so everything looks balanced to the eye. Lesson 2. Look closely at the X. Those strokes don't actually cross perfectly. One of them is broken. That tiny adjustment makes the intersection look clean and continuous. So next time you draw an X or a diagonal, remember, good typography isn't about geometry, it's about optics. Come and fix, and I will send you my free PDF, 5 optical adjustments many designers miss.
And yeah, so I think that's also a really great quote to take away from it too, is that it's all about optics, because type sometimes doesn't make mathematical sense. It's a lot of times really focused on just what looks right and what your brain is already trying to do. It's interesting, especially with like the X, what the X is not perfectly aligned and lined up. And if you go to her Instagram and you comment fix, she will then send you a nice document that gives you a bunch of different tips and tricks about how you should approach type, especially if you're doing logos or you're doing something else. Also, in response to the sponge question, it looks like, let's see if she followed up with it or not. I'm not sure. Scrub daddies. Oh yeah, so I guess it was something. If you have a picture of the sponges, would love to see it in the Discord. You can go ahead and you can just throw it into the file new portion of the Discord, and we can all comment on it and have a great time. So even more of a reason to hop into the Discord for you. All right, what do we have next? We're gonna hop into our next section, and that is Rebrand, and we have a lot to get through this week. So I'm gonna keep the polls open. I'm gonna then highlight this one more time. These are the 3 options you have for Font of the Week as we then go and check out Rebrand. Rebrand is what it sounds like. If you need full disclosure, I can still give it to you, but I'm surprised that you're not keeping up. We actually have 2 stories from Apple today. Yes, that Apple. And there is a controversial update to the way that they're interacting with the Apple One branding. And it is this kind of chopped up multiple different apples stacked on top of each other to form the logo. It is obviously 3D, and they mess around with it. I've linked to the YouTube page that has the full video. And I'm going to go ahead and pull it up just to show you guys. The way that it's chopped up and the way that it looks is that it's Apple One is their deal where they have their like multiple services in one service. And the way that this is working is it is a collection of different services that then come into one. So you can see here with this fun little animation, one goes from, I'm going to go in here. I'm actually going to slow this all the way down. We're going to go into 0.25 and we're going to slow this down. You can see it like very swiftly switches into multiple different things, and you can see that it's hypothetically it is all of the apples turned on their side, which then kind of expand out into being the logo together. There are a lot of very upset designers about this approach. I don't know if it's going to be the one that they ended up sticking with. I think it was more so kind of just a showcase of the plan. But interesting to see them take risks with that, because they'll mess with the logo, but they won't necessarily mess with the actual apple, unless it's like, changing the color or just its makeup. They normally don't mess with kind of like the structure of it. Then within its official lockup, I think that it is just going to be the regular one with a 1. But, I don't hate it. I'm kind of down with being able to experiment with logos and being able to come back to them, especially if it's not the one that's going to be the official one. Alyssa's saying, and Oliver's saying people need to calm down about this. Keys is wondering if I got my Tyler Pate pin. Oh, yeah, you did. I got my 20-year one because I got Photoshop Elements in 6th grade, which was 20 years ago. And so that maybe makes me younger than you thought, makes you think I'm older than you thought, but 20 years. Cody says she thinks that it's kind of clever, especially if it's just a one-off thing for a marketing campaign. Yeah, that's kind of where I landed on it. Something that is not as temporary, and this is actually their new update, is Apple TV has rebranded confusingly or Apple TV Plus has now just rebranded to Apple TV, but they also have Apple TV and they also have Apple TV, which are 3 different products. And they had Phineas from, the duo of Billie Eilish, create a marketing intro in the same way that you have like the Netflix Badum. And it's interesting to see what they landed on. I also have this linked out in the raindrop. If you want to check it out, I'll pull it up quickly as well. And it's kind of this like flip. I'm going to mute it. This kind of flip open and then kind of goes back. And then it has, what's interesting to me is kind of the lighting of the different colors here on the bottom. And it's just so interesting that it's, for whatever reason, this is kind of where we've landed on for TV, is the idea of like these multiple things coming together. Because, you also have the colored lines for Netflix. I guess then you have like the plus sign for Paramount or HBO. So it's like they're kind of, Disney. So they're kind of all referencing each other. But overall, I think this is really pretty. I kind of makes me want to get like an accordion of an apple that I could then flip around. But Oliver says I use Apple TV and Apple TV, but not Apple TV. Yeah. And it's funny because I can only assume to know what you're using. But it's a weird branding choice for it. Winner is saying that's very confusing. So there's 3 versions of Apple TV. Yes, there is the hardware, there is the app within the hardware, and then there is the TV content. And those are the 3 different ones, which is a little confusing because like the app like brings in all your different stuff like Netflix and HBO and stuff and puts it into the app, but then there's actual content for it. But maybe this is a step in them kind of leaning on that. But speaking of different brands that then hold a bunch of different brands, what a transition. We have a new update to PepsiCo. So PepsiCo is the company that holds Pepsi, and they used to only have a few different brands, and now they have so many brands that they recently did an update for the first time since 2001. You might recognize this logo down here, where it is kind of like this circular thing. And it kind of seems like it referenced maybe the Pepsi logo a little bit, but also a globe, because they have multiple brands. But they said that this update is actually more than meets the eye. Apparently, each section of it references like food and grain, smiles, which is consumer centricity, drinks and water, winning with PEP plus positive impact for people on the planet. And then they have the mock-up, which is, or the lock-up, which is the house of brands. Weird, there's no I, it's just kind of everything's lowercase, but they don't have the I on it. And then it says our tagline defines our business. Back in 2001, I think they had something like 8 brands or something, and now they have over 500. It's one of those things where they just acquired a bunch, and now they have a bunch of things over there, so they need something that maybe steps away a little bit further from the Pepsi identity. It's interesting. I have to learn more about it. Like the blue completing the P is actually pretty cool there. And also these kind of swishes in the E and the C are kind of cool. It is interesting how, though, it then kind of locks things up with the P, S, and I feeling very kind of island out and feeling separated from everything else. It's still, if you squint, it still feels like one word, so they got away with that. But as soon as you start connecting things, it suddenly feels like interesting. But I'm not sure. Wade says no AI commercial. I'm listening, PepsiCo. Oliver says the Pepsi holidays are coming. Touche. And then speaking of everyone changing logos, Mazda did an update. They flattened their logo. And then there was a really good article in Fast Company written by Hunter Schwartz that actually was highlighting all the different car brands specifically that have recently changed into a flatter logo. This was definitely something that happened a lot with online like websites and brandings in previous years, but it's interesting to also see that it also happened not only with Mazda, but BMW, Jaguar, and Volkswagen. The idea here, according to Fast Company, is that graphically the updated logos of legacy automakers are going up against those of EV newcomers such as Tesla and Rivian, which use sleek, futuristic style fonts inspired by the typography of 20th century science fiction. It's possible the legacy car brands' logos are getting updated to visually signal contemporary relevance in those markets as well. Makes me sad. I like the M. I like the pointy sides on the side. I don't think this is a bad logo. I don't think it's a hideous logo. I just think it lacks the character that they had before. And who knows? It probably won't last forever. They'll probably go a little bit back towards this, and it's always a pendulum. Umacorn says, is Tesla still a thing? Yeah, I still see them on the street. So that's definitely a thing. But yeah, what do you guys think? Are you guys cool with the new flat logo, or are you more traditionalist where you like this old skeuomorphism kind of feeling like it's a metal or like little thing that's on the front of a car? Is Tesla it's Tesla's logo in wavy chrome tee. Cody says, I am tired of everything being flat. Yeah, everything's flat. Everything's flat. Kind of like this new Microsoft AI logo, which is done in-house with Column, and this is reported on by Armin for Brand New, and they recently updated and moved away from kind of the 4 squares that are iconic to Windows and have then since moved over to just this MAI. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. The comments on this site are pretty negative about it, but one thing I will say really sold me on it was the Microsoft AI website. It has a really, really cool animation that feels like light flickering through like trees that then interacts with your mouse, which is super beautiful. So for that alone, I was like, oh, I'm kind of interested there. But it obviously is very focused on trying to feel very humanist, trying to not feel like a machine, trying to feel very handmade, almost like a skin product kind of, which is an interesting approach. And then you can see that it also is going to be like updated into each of their products. It's interesting. It's like some people are taking the real hard like Blade Runner approach and being like, this needs to feel like super technology sci-fi, and then other ones are being like, no, try to think that this is like a granola bar. And I don't know which one will win. I don't know which one I like more, or which one I like less, but it is an interesting approach. Cody is saying that it's nifty. I'm not sure what you are singing, but I'm here for it, and I'm here for you, and I'm glad you're having a good time. Does Microsoft ever stop rebranding, says Oliver? You know what? I do not know. Winter says, honestly, I don't care what they do. Right on. You know what? And power to you for that. And I love to hear all types of responses, so let me know. Wade's also saying, handmade AI? Oxymorons, anyone? Cody's laughing at me for saying that this is a granola bar. But yeah, interesting to see. We only have a few minutes left, so I'm going to take the last 10 minutes or so to hop into some really cool resources that we have for you guys. But before we do that, Miss Melanie says, in my opinion, the updated Mazda logo looks low quality, and the Chrome Mazda logo emphasizes high quality and standards. Which is interesting. Yeah, I mean, it definitely feels like this took more time, and I know it takes time to make, subtle logos and logos that are stripped back and kind of can be applied to everything. But also for me, this like starts to feel like a bird. And I know that's weird, but like, can't you guys see this? Like, if you were to just put like, where's my brush? Oh yeah, and we don't have smoothing on here, so we're gonna upset whoever. Oh no, we have smoothing on this one, so it's fine. But like, couldn't you see this? Like, could add little like nose. Oh, it's Mazda, but it's Angry Birds. That's what's gonna get me the cease and desist right there. Whereas like if I were to draw it over here, it doesn't look the same. Like it, I mean, granted, I didn't give it eyes like that. I mean, it kind of looks like that, but that looks like more of a stretch than the other one. It looks like a seagull. Yeah, thank you. It's giving Seattle. Is rebrand fatigue a thing? I might have it, says Alyssa. Well, then, Alyssa, we need to move on. We need to move on because we don't want to lose you. We only got 10 minutes left, so let's hop into resources. Let's do that. Oh, yeah, and I forgot. I don't know why that resources audio always gets messed up. I need to fix that. We also need to do a rebrand for some of File News stuff, too. So let's get at that. This is going to be really good for you, Wade. This is really great for you, Wade. This is semantic art. And this is really inspiring, especially if you're getting AI fatigue and you want to leverage AI instead to look at real art. And this is a really cool resource that if you want to dream and imagine something, but you want to see if it already exists and be inspired by it, you can search with your imagination here. So this is semantic.art. And if you go into the question mark, it says semantic.art is anti-slop. Instead of another prompt bar for generation, this is an art search engine that invites you to search with your imagination. Traditional search assumes a user translates their desire into a query well matched for hidden structure of the search engine, but modern large language models allow us to bring this raw user expression to the universe of art. It also has a really cool like animation on top of it. And so we'll say something here, like we'll say an ice cream cone with shaped like a dog. Someone has definitely had to create that. You click enter world, it'll look through the different reverse, and that's exactly what I was looking for. Look at that. And we say, who is this by? And this is from John Kilduff in 2018. It also looks like there's something with like a Batman, and that might kind of go off. Oh, it's also John Kilduff. Wow, the same. He must like stuff. That's definitely Cause, right? Cause a neighborhood. What is this? We can also say, what can we say? We can say snapping turtle, because that is what Kendall said. And I'm going to say snapping turtle. I'm going to say airplane because someone said Mazda Airlines. And let's see where this gets us. And so, yeah, like it's not going to give you a snapping turtle that looks like a airplane unless that's something that's already existed. But it is going to give us the idea of a blue airplane and kind of like a personified thing. And you can cycle through this. You can find more art. Anything that you pop into, it also will give you find similar to then kind of go off from there. And it's just an interesting way to stay inspired. And also maybe find other artists, either contemporary or historical ones, and you can scroll left and right and find some really cool stuff, like Norman Rockwell. You guys ever heard of him? Is it searching the web? I don't know where it's necessarily searching from. I'm sure it goes into it based off of this full write-up they have, and I need to check out more of it. But they go into their whole scoring formula to figure out how it gets closest to what you're looking for. But the important thing here mostly is that it is searching for real art and gives full credit to everyone that it is actually getting at. Clever says we all scream, which I'm going to assume is a good thing. Then we also have another archive of stuff, but this is from Pentagram, one of the most famous branding studios in the world. And they have a whole archive of everything they've ever worked on, where then you can look at all their stuff. And when you say black and white posters, it will then pull up. This, of course, is not free use or anything. This is just their kind of work and a good way to be able to search through stuff, but a really good place for inspiration and also just to fresh up on some brands and stuff that have been made by Pentagram. That's just on pentagram.com, which, like I said, is one of the most famous rebranding and just branding studios in the world. Alyssa's saying that her home was covered in Norman Rockwell art via her mother's design choices. Hey, Norman Rockwell, it's a great guy. He had some really cool stuff. I say great guy. I don't know what his actual life was, but when I saw part of they had a show, I think at the Whitney, and I saw it. I don't think they ever said anything that was really bad. I think he was actually anti-racist, which was cool. He left a publication because he wanted to draw all races, and they didn't let him. So then he switched off and started his own magazine. So it seems like he's a good guy, but as with anything, always have to look into it. Wade said that he definitely hang that Batman on his wall, commit crimes if you dare, or Justice Cone all night. All right. How can I kick a mod? Can I kick the mod? Kendall also has a current project that has all Norman Rockwell in the moonboard phase, which is cool. You can also go to that website and you can also find similar things because there are some really cool artists that are then inspired by Norman Rockwell and take new approaches to stuff. And then we're running low on time. So I do want to touch quickly on this OG Zeet. We've featured him on the stream before. This is a really cool approach in Illustrator to make a ribbon effect using like an interactive with just using kind of the blend tool. I'm not going to play the audio because it has music under it. So I'm going to try to speak to it the best that I can. But you can see that he's moving it around and it's actually changing it. He's starting with a normal mono stroke line. He's then creating a curved line with a gradient on it, and then he's duplicating his Control D. He's then going to Object, Blend, Make, and switching it to be kind of just this whole line. He then selects the other thing and blends and says replace spine. So it's going to take his new blend and then apply it to the spine. He then goes to his blend options and changes it from 500 to 150 just to show you how it's working and shows you how it's messing. But then if you go and you rotate any of these sections, it's going to actually kind of turn the part of the blend and then show you that it's going to actually turn kind of like a ribbon. And then you can apply this to whatever you want. And then you can continue to mess with things as long as you bring it back to make it a smooth transition. And then you can then bring it over to Photoshop if you like, and you can add different texture and mess with it to make it more kind of realistic. But I thought it was just a really interesting way to kind of in real time create almost a 3D effect. And then you see he's adding shadows with a clipping mask or what have you. But make sure you check him out. It's OG Zeet. He makes really cool instructional content and also is always trying to mess around in apps with ways that I never really anticipated with. And then our last resource of the day is a William Nguyen light reference. This is from a guy on ArtStation named William Nguyen, I actually think. And it is a 3D model of a head that then has both male and female. I linked to both of them in the raindrop. You can go and what it's going to do is it will show you the lighting for each part. He said there's a bug in it, so it's actually right now on the Wayback Machine, which is actually taking a little bit of time to load. But it goes, and then you can kind of set up lighting, and then you can adjust based off of that to then use it as a reference for drawing. And it's free and open to use. You can also move the head around. For whatever reason, it's not loading right now. But as it's loading, I guess I can go and close the font of the week. And we'll come back to this resource in just a second. But the winner of font of the week, with 57% of the vote, goes to our friend Halyard. Check it out. So you guys went with the sans serif, nice and strong, nice and cool. Like I said, 57%. But the other ones got a decent amount of votes. You guys didn't like Nouveau. Nouveau got last place with 19%, and Lapture got 24%. So definitely, I hear you. It doesn't look like this resource is going to load for me right now, but I can also post maybe a screen recording of it or something on the Discord server, which I'd love to see you guys there. Like I said, this is the last show of Adobe Live on YouTube today, but next up we have Design Sprint with Steven Overturf. He's doing sports design, a bunch of really cool athletic approaches, and then that's followed up with Edit Like a Pro, which is video editing over on Twitch. So you're just going to hop over to twitch.tv/Adobe, A-D-O-B-E. No Adobe Live, no Adobe Live Community, just Adobe. And we'll be over there and we'll be hanging out. Thank you to everyone who tuned in today. Thank you to Alyssa and Cody and Winter and Clever, Steven. Who else do we have over here? We had Virgil and Mel. Thank you guys all for being here. Also over on the Behance side of things, obviously Kendall and Oliver, Wade, all the usuals. Keys, it's good to have you guys here. And I hope to see you guys all again next week. It was nice meeting so many of you in person at Adobe Max. You can follow me at Ryan Selvy on Instagram or ryanselvy.com on Blue Sky. And we can also hang out in the chat. Looks like we lost Behance, which is why it's always cool to check out YouTube, because YouTube doesn't get cut off, and it's better for the algorithm, which is better for me. If you haven't already given it a like, thumbs up, please give me a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithm. And I will see you all next week. Thanks for watching.